Horses have a special gift of connecting with humans in a way that I don't think any other animal does. Dogs come close, but horses have this ability to mirror your emotions, to show you yourself what you're feeling when maybe you've been through trauma and you don't trust people. They have this ability to show you yourself in such a way that it's non-judgmental, it's calming, it's relaxing. And once you can break through and make connection, that's where healing can begin.
Welcome to Shaping the Basin. I'm here with Shelley Trumbly from Solid Ground Equine Therapy.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Tell me what solid ground is.
Solid Ground is a place of healing and miracles, to put it simply. But Solid Ground is an organization. It's a 501c3 nonprofit organization that provides horse activities for kids with disabilities. We have a veterans program. We serve anyone from 3 years old on up to 98 plus. So it's using horses to help heal wounds, trauma, and overcome challenges.
Why horses?
Horses have a special gift of connecting with humans in a way that I don't think any other animal does. Dogs come close, but horses have this ability to mirror your emotions, to show you yourself what you're feeling when maybe you've been through trauma and you don't trust people. They have this ability to show you yourself in such a way that it's non-judgmental, it's calming, it's relaxing. And once you can break through and make connection, that's where healing can begin. That's one aspect. The horse's movement actually mimics the human gait. So if you take someone with a disability, or maybe they're unable to walk for whatever reason, if you can get them on the back of the horse, they get the same benefits as walking. So I had a client when I was training in Medford. She had MS and had progressed to a wheelchair. She was making no progress in physical therapy. She had reached a plateau, and they got her on the back of the horse, and her core strength improved 40%. And her goal was to ride independently to show her husband. And it took some time, but she was able to do that. So it gave her quality of life back. It was something she grew up doing, was riding, and just the joy that it brought her to overcome. Yes, she couldn't walk, but she could still do something that felt quote unquote normal to her. And it was just incredible to see that. And so horses bring that when it's a physical disability. And so there's the mental, emotional, and physical, and connection. We all need connection. I think because horses are big and you sometimes have to overcome fear, it's a challenge. But once you do, it's unlike any other connection. They're just amazing.
Have you always been a horse person?
Always, yes.
Yeah.
I think I was born riding horses, basically being sat. I showed horses. So horses have been a part of my life, and I knew what they did for me, and I knew what the potential they had, but I never dreamed of something like this. I didn't know anything about the therapeutic industry, didn't know it's been around since 1969. I did not know it existed. So I feel like I have been blessed enough to get to work in something that I've had a passion for my whole life, and how it intertwined with my medical career and things. So horses, different kinds of horses, doing all kinds of activities, showing, gymkhana, you name it, I did it.
Yeah. And you have a medical background, is that what you said?
I have a nursing degree. I'm also a qualified mental health professional. So it just went full circle. I grew up riding and showing, and then took a little pause to raise my my kids. And I never got rid of my horses, but I just didn't have time. I became chauffeur and room mom and all those things that you do, as well as go to nursing school. And so I got my nursing degree in 2016, and never dreamed of anything like this. And then later found out, with my nursing degree and some further training, I was able to become a qualified mental health professional, which is exactly what we're doing now at Solid Ground. So those two dreams that I had, the love of nursing, the love of horses, that's why I said miracles, because without everything, all the stars aligning, it just would not have happened. And it was just something that God put on my heart, and the doors opened. And once I heard about this industry, I just knew we needed it here in Klamath.
How did you learn about the
So
industry?
interestingly enough, through nursing, my oldest son at the time, he had a girlfriend at the time that was in nursing school, and she was from Bend, and she asked if I could keep her horse here because her horse was in a therapeutic center in Bend. It's Healing Reins. And he was retiring from there. And so she wanted him. And I was like, tell me more about Healing Reins. And so I called them, drove over there, checked it out. It was everything I knew we needed here, and that I can't explain it. It was like I was called to do that very thing. That's where it was first introduced to me. And from there, I just visited as many centers as I could, learned all I could. And I just felt like, knowing what I knew about horses and how they impact your life, we needed it here. Like that we were the population that definitely could benefit from those services. So, but again, I do feel like it was timing, and I feel like it was a vision that God gave, because I couldn't have just created this. Like I couldn't have come up with everything working out so perfectly. And so it was just believing that that could happen and putting one foot in front of the other and not giving up, being resilient and pushing through. And to see it where it is now is, I wouldn't have dreamed it would be that. So
Yeah. What year did you start?
2016.
Oh, with Solid Ground?
Yeah, with Solid Ground. So the vision, I think, was a couple years before. When I learned about it, it was probably 2014, 2015. And then my certification. So we chose to become a PATH Center, which is Professional Association of Therapeutic Horsemanship. And that's your certifying body. That is your standard of safety that you have to go by. So with that, you have to have certified instructors. So as I was learning what it would take to open a center, I knew I needed to be certified. So I pursued that path, even though I was working full-time as a nurse. This was all volunteer. And I pursued that. I volunteered in Medford at Hope Equestrian. I volunteered at Healing Reins in Bend, and also at Crossing Bridges. So like on my days off or Friday or weekends, I would spend volunteering, learning all I could. And then I got my certification from Petaluma. It's called Giant Steps in Petaluma, California. And so we had the certification, we developed a board, and that was our official year. We didn't serve any students that year because we were just kind of getting our ducks in a row, but that is our founding year. So this is our 10-year anniversary.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
thank you.
How many people do you serve in a year, roughly?
We started out 2017, we served one. And this past year, about 1,000 people came through.
Dang.
Yeah.
Are they all primarily from the Klamath Basin?
Pretty much. In fact, yeah, I would say all, if not just a handful of maybe some tours, some families visiting or things like that. But yeah.
Do you work with all ages?
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
3 years old. If it's younger than that, it's hard to be classified as that'd be more of a pony ride. They're just not able to really have like a therapeutic lesson. But our oldest had her 98th birthday at Solid Ground, and that was when we served the seniors through Pelican Point. That was an incredible program. I'd like to see it get established. When COVID happened, they were not able to come back out, and then different staffing changes and then some bus issues. But we're hoping to get them to come out, because for seniors, quality of life is everything. Especially if they are in a facility and maybe they don't get family visiting a lot, or even if they do, they don't, it's few and far between. In the facility, you would see them walking around with walkers and kind of just this almost depressed look on their face. But when they came out, They put their walkers aside. They walked right over to the horses, and the administrator said it was like they came back to life again, and that was true. And they learned, they met each other. They lived in the same facility. People hadn't met each other, and one of them, they didn't know they were family. They had met and they were actually related. So that was really cool. And it was really due to the administrator at the time. He just really pushed for it. He was actually from Bend, and they did it in Bend. And so he got it going here. And so anyway, it just sort of, he went back to Bend and they carried it on, and it was fantastic. So that is our oldest group, and that was non-riding. But again, the connection with a horse is very healing. It doesn't always have to be riding.
Right. That was going to be my next question. Do they just come out and ride? What does a therapy session look like?
So we have the riding part of it. We have spring, fall, and winter. And then, of course, our summer camps. Those all involve riding. And riding, of course, is therapeutic. It's beneficial and it serves a lot of purposes. But there's so much from the ground that can happen. So we have a ground connection class. But our biggest change in who we are and biggest direction change is the mental health program, because we started the equine assisted mental health. 2 weeks into it, there's a waiting list that's probably the rest of the year. Like it's hard to get people in, of course, because you have to start and you have to build before you can just hire and bring in the team. But there's a huge need. The therapists in Klamath County are fantastic. They're full. So this is kind of bridging that gap of what can be done. What's a service that they could be doing while they're waiting to see. And it works in conjunction, not to replace the time with their therapist. So it's been really powerful. We had one individual. We don't always see the things going on behind the scenes. We see what goes on when they come out. And we have an individual coming now that was doing fantastic, still is doing fantastic. We just saw the joy and just the change. And I was like, she's doing so well. We could probably go to twice a month instead of once a month. And they said, well, hold on. They being the therapist and her family, and they wanted to talk about it. And they actually came back and said, this is the only thing working. She's coming out of her room. She's engaging. She's having conversation that hadn't happened. And they asked if she could come twice a week instead of once a week. So instead of cutting back, we actually added to it. And it was nice because we do have that collaboration, that we do hear what's going on behind the scenes and how impactful services are, because we don't always hear that. We see it on our end, but we don't see what's going on at home. And so this has been this will be a program we continue to grow. It is a non-riding program. And again, it goes back to the connection. Horses have this ability to mirror your emotion. Their heartbeat syncs with yours from up to 4 feet away, and they have a very calming, their heartbeat actually is lower than ours. And so it's very calming and relaxing to spend time with horses for that reason. Kids with anxiety or adults spend a little bit of time, and breathing with a horse and just grooming the horse actually lowers your blood pressure, lowers your heart rate. So,
and is that the kind of things they do in the mental health program, is grooming them, petting them? You said it's non-riding.
It's non-riding. So every individual's different. We look at what their goals are with their therapist, what they want to work on. So it might be building confidence and trust. It might be emotional regulation. So they groom. We do activities in the arena. We set up different courses. We might take them for a nature walk with the horse. There's just a lot of activities that we can do, but it's all goes back to what are their therapy goals, and the activities are in line with that. So it's a complement to what they're already doing, and it just helps continue those, and in a different way. When you're doing an activity versus sitting in an office talking, they just open up a lot more. So,
yeah. How many staff do you have, or how many therapists do you have?
We have, so right now, because it's a program we're building, so we have a contract with Squib Counseling right now, and they have 20 therapists there. And I'm the one that does the equine therapy. So the referrals are made through either like Squib Counseling or other outside therapists. They don't have to be through Squib. If they're an outside, then they may not be familiar with how it works, or so they still are referred through Squib, but there's, if that makes sense, it gets kind
Yeah.
of complicated, but they are still the client's therapist.
Okay.
So, yeah, it gets complicated, but this is how we have it in place now to build the program. Eventually, our goal is to have our own in-house therapist so that the referrals would just come through to us.
Yeah. But 1,000 people a year, that's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people receiving services.
That's and different variety. Like the Klamath tribe usually does a couple retreats out there. There is schools that come through for activities that Roosevelt, I believe, came through Henley last year. Some elementary schools. We do summer camps for the Klamath County School District. We do our normal camps, our therapeutic riding, our mental health, and now we also have a life skills program, which is also small groups. So that's kind of where the numbers come from, is when you build groups. That's an amazing program that I'm excited about to see where it goes. We were fortunate enough to get the YDO grant this year. So that means we may have gotten the grant, but we're able to collaborate with other organizations like Friends of the Children and Citizens for Safe Schools and Klamath County Public Health and serve students that they select to come out. And it really focuses on life skills, emotional regulation, our programs that strengthen the relationship with their mentors because they're doing it together. So that we're just starting, and that's a really great program that we're looking forward to see, because that collaboration is important for them. It's important for us, and it just spreads the funding further. So that is something we have hired. I say hired. She's doing it as a volunteer of her choice right now to run that program, and she's doing an amazing job developing surveys and developing the program. And so I'm excited about that. We have 5 staff, and then we hire for the summer. We usually end up having between 11 and 13. We hire some seasonal high schoolers to help with our camps and things like that. We need to serve the number that we have. We need to be ready to hire more. I feel like we could double that easily. Again, some of these programs are in the beginning stages, and so doing the pilot program first, seeking the funding, and then hiring. But I do feel like the mental health would be something that could stand alone, that would not be dependent on grants and fundraisers and things. So that will help us. But also, this is the year we're trying to get the cover over the arena. So that is also going to help us be able to deliver services year round.
Mm.
So 1,000 people has basically been 10 out of 10 months. It's a lot of individuals.
It's easy to get lost. Don't know which path to take, what to post. In the social media jungle, video is king. Your kids are obsessed, your customers are addicted, we're all hooked, and social media sites prioritize videos. So when you're ready to stand out from the crowd, reach out to 40 Deuce Films. Feeling over everything.
You mentioned the disabilities part of it and the life skills. You'd mentioned some of that, but the veterans program. Tell me a little bit about that.
That is probably one of it. You can't really compare the programs, but I feel like the thing about veterans is they're easy to isolate in their home, and they're adults. So there's nobody really checking on them always. Whereas children may be going through things, but they usually have parents or foster parents. Whereas veterans can get lost in the system. And this program has brought veterans out that hadn't left their home other than maybe go to the grocery store or to a doctor appointment. And it's free for veterans. It's life changing. It's camaraderie and connection. A lot of veterans don't want to be in group setting. So they were real worried at first, like, how big is this group going to be? When we first started, there was only 3 core veterans and then some veteran helpers. And that was their concern, is, well, we don't want to grow this group too big. I think they really felt a part of growing this program, which they were. But as they've built relationship and connection and trust, first with the horse, then with each other, They've built friendships. Some of them pick each other up on the way out. Some of them do other things together, meet at the DAV for breakfast. Um, our groups have grown to between 15, 20 on average, and they're okay with it. Like before, they would have never come to a group that big. So we do have to be careful. It's not something that they would come if it grew to be 30 or 40. We might have to have smaller groups and have more groups. We're really trying to grow the women veterans. We do have quite a few, but we're going to do some special things just for women this year, just because there are some women that are not ready to be in a group that is men and women. So we're going to add a few of those programs. But for the most part, it's a safe, comfortable place, even if they're feeling that challenge of being in that setting. They usually still come because it's so welcoming. Our veteran coordinators reach out to them year round, even if our program we do 2 12-week segments. But outside of that, they reach out to see how they're doing. Are they, is everything going okay? Are they able to get out for the ones that get snowed in out in Sprague River? It's just an amazing, it's life-changing program. And we do have a video with some interviews from veterans where they're sharing their own story. And I can think of one in particular that when he first started, only his wife could bring him. He couldn't take public transportation. He couldn't come in a taxi. His PTSD was too severe. And so she was working. It was hard, but she had to be the one. Well, now he'll ride the bus out. He's taken a taxi before. He's gone and done other activities. He picks out his own stuff off the menu. These were all things he couldn't do before. And his goal primarily was to be able to hold his wife's hand again because he hadn't been able to in 20 years. And after just a brief few weeks of sessions, he was so excited to come back and say they went to the Tule Lake Fair and he was able to hold his wife's hand again. And he was just beaming with pride. So to see little things we take for granted, that's the quality of life we're talking about. It's just being able to hold his wife's hands, being able to pet his dog, because touch and feel was not something he could do. So yeah, there's multiple, but that was a very powerful story.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
That changes. You get to see some really cool things, some really interesting healing.
Yeah, we've had a student say his first word. We weren't even aware it was his first word. He was 4 when he started, hadn't said a word. We didn't know that. As he was riding around, he said, "Hi, Mom." And so when we were done, she was just in tears. And then she shared that he hadn't said that. So it was the first time she was able to hear that. And that was pretty incredible. We've had that a few times. Kids with autism, it's a fantastic program for. At first, sometimes the parents are not sure if they're going to like it because they can be intimidated by a big horse. But because we start out with the ground connection and just not pushing anything, waiting until they're ready, we have a young man that at first we couldn't get his attention more than 10 seconds. Like it was a horse here and a bird there and a tractor. He can ride independently. And it is incredible to see that happen within a year. So he came for spring, fall, and winter. And it's just so fun to watch them go from being afraid of a horse to not only riding independently, but maybe coming to camps where there's groups of kids, which are sometimes really hard and can be too much. And to see that and see them step into this leader role where they're raising their hand and they're asking questions, those are little things we take for granted that is something parents don't get to see with some of their kids. So pretty amazing all the time. Like we have stories we don't go a session without a new story.
Yeah, that's awesome. I want to talk about the horses a little bit.
Okay.
I know like a service dog has to go through an incredible amount of training. Do the horses have to go through that?
Not so much. Not like that you would think. We do put them through some training, just more like a checklist, like what are they able. But we really look for temperament first. They have to be quiet and just love this job. Not all horses do because, like I said, they feel what you feel. So if we're serving a lot of kids with anxiety, well, the horse now feels all of that energy and it can be too much. They can need time off as well. And some just don't like it. We have one horse in particular. He doesn't like it. He cannot be used for riding because he wants a confident rider. And if you're nervous, he's nervous. So he doesn't love it. So we look for temperament first. We do look for some basic training. Are they coming to us well broke? Are they coming and maybe their only role would be to lead around on the ground? We look for what they can do, and is it something we can plug into one of our programs? They don't have to be riding horses because we do so much more than that. However, they all cost the same. So it's nice if you can have a riding horse that you can also use for mental health and they can have multiple roles. That's obviously going to be the most beneficial. But sometimes it's just the right horse with the right temperament that you feel totally safe with it. We don't do this, but if you were to climb under him, they would be okay with it. Like it has to be that safe and gentle. And we have some of those. They're non-riding horses, but you trust anyone with them and they're great teachers. And so we'll use them for the veterans program to groom. We'll use them for kids camps to teach them how to groom and how to lead. Some horses come to us owned by somebody else and we just borrow them from like April to October. Those are actually really ideal situations for us. And maybe they're retired show horses. Maybe we had some retired barrel racers. So usually they've had a first career and they're retired, or they've had an injury. And then we have to evaluate, is it an injury that costs a lot to maintain? Is it something that maybe we can't ride, but they're amazing for mental health? Then we might consider it. We love it if they have an owner, because if they don't like it, they have somewhere to go when they're done. And so it's kind of a shared. So usually they come already trained as far as basic training. We have a checklist that we put them through. Can they stand tight? Are they quiet with all kinds of noises when you're riding? And if you're fidgety, are they okay with that? So we do put them through several months of training, some longer. We've had some, we put a year or so into them, but it needs to be a pretty special horse to keep a year and do that investment. Sometimes it's just, they've just not had the time put in. And so we just need to do that. But it starts with their temperament. And also if we're going to put that time, are they a horse the veterans can ride? Are they for adults or just for kids? So there's a lot that goes into deciding what horses we use. But for the most part, people call us up. They have a horse they want us to look at. And then we have to evaluate, is it a wise decision? Like, what is the maintenance costs? What's the ROI basically? Are they going to be able to be used in the program, or are they going to be used 1 month and cost us the next? So that's why sharing, Rebecca Mendez is one. She owns Calvin. Calvin has been coming for about 6 years. He goes home every winter. He comes from April to October and he loves it. Loves his job, loves having both homes, and super happy. He's getting close to 30. And we also have one other one that's 35 and one that's 33. So that's in human years, like in their 90s. So that is, those horses are used for the grooming, the leading, the life skills program, usually retired from riding at that age, but not always. Calvin's going strong.
It's almost like those older horses have a little bit of therapy too, working with the humans.
Yeah.
Too. It's probably kind of a miracle for them as well.
I think for horses too, like just having that connection without having to really work hard. Like they want a job. They want something to do. They really love the horses that we choose for the program. They love the program. The ones that don't, they usually either go back to their owner, or if there's another job, we consider our volunteer program an actual program as well, because we have 75 volunteers and sometimes they come out, they're looking for something too. Maybe they chose this avenue instead of a program, but they're looking for connection and so that is an important program. So some of these horses, even though maybe they're not plugged into the programs right away, they are plugged into the volunteer program. And it's very healing for that horse and the person. because they're just looking for connection. And so's the person. So like that is a really powerful thing to see. And it's cool to see the horses that used to be barrel racers be calm enough to just walk around or
Mhm.
just be led around. And yeah, it's pretty incredible.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we are really close to the end of our time, but how does somebody get more involved? If they're listening and they think this is a cool program, do you accept volunteers?
We do. We've had to close it a few times just because we do get a lot of volunteers in a year, and we like them to be able to go through a really good training program. So you don't have to have any experience. You don't have to know horses or anything. But when you sign up as a volunteer, we do require everyone to have a background check because we do work with high risk teens and kids. And that's step one. You'll fill out the volunteer application, do the background check, and then Rena is our volunteer coordinator. She'll schedule orientation, which is like a 3-day training. And it's not 3 days, it's like an hour once for 3 times. And so then they learn all there is, the different options, the things they could sign up for, and then they independently sign up. We do have volunteer appreciation at the end of the year. So there is awards and things, there's recognition. And then we also, if we do put a hold, it's just simply so we can get everyone trained and then we open it back up. So that means a volunteer can help with summer camp. They could be a camp leader, a camp teacher. They could lead the horses. They could groom the horses. They can just take kids from station to station. They might help at booths. We had a booth at the air show and different places. So if you don't really want to do horses, there's a variety of things to do. So we welcome volunteers. It's the heart of everything that happens at Solid Ground. We couldn't do it without a good team of volunteers.
Mhm. Well, thank you so much for your time. And
You're
thank you for
welcome.
talking to me about the program.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. I have a couple fun questions at the end. If
Okay.
I gave you $250,000 to do something by today
Okay.
in our basin, what would you do with it?
In our basin. So not build us an arena.
No, that's in the
Oh,
basin. Yeah.
We would have the arena completed because we have worked really hard to get the roof, but our goal is a completely enclosed arena with like a therapy room and some different things like that. There's a simulator we want. And so we would grow that therapy part of it in that arena so that we could have year-round services in a heartbeat.
Love it. Do you have a role model?
I have lots, but I go back to when I was first starting this program. I call her my mentor, but I connected with a person I didn't know. She's in Illinois. She runs a therapeutic center there. And she's the one that said, just start, because we wanted the arena and we wanted everything to look right. And she said, you have a need, don't wait, but also never take on more than you can do well. And so if it means starting with one, just start with one. And they started out with kind of a backyard borrowed horse and served one student until they built themselves to 10 fully operational barns, debt-free, running completely full. And they were given an award at the World Series, I guess, by Matthew McConaughey and Julia Roberts one year for the impact they had on their community. But I think of her all the time because the only reason I connected with her was I was looking for a name and I thought it needed to have the word dream in it. And theirs did. So somehow we connected. And she just was so wise and so calm. And she's like, you don't need the perfect barn. Like, you don't need a covered arena to get started. You need to start with one and just serve one well, but never, again, like I said, never take on more than you can serve well. So she is my mentor.
I love that. I ask people sometimes if they have a favorite trail to hike, but is there a favorite place in Klamath you like to ride?
I personally like to ride just on our property down to the river. I think for me, I'm around people so much that when I fill up or like to just go for a ride, it's in that solitude and just walking along the river. That really brings peace. I like to hike down there too and just sit on the boat dock. We have amazing places to hike and ride around here. So it would be hard to name one because I love this community. I love our trails. I love our nature. But for me, like that's my favorite because I don't have to think or do any work or hook up the trailer. I can go and just have some downtime. And so for me, that's my favorite.
Love it. Thank you so much for your time today.
You're
I really
welcome.
appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks
And
for having me.
thank you to our producer, 40 Deuce Films.